Hey, Brian King here. Something has come up, and this is typically what inspires my conversations with you, is something that repeatedly shows up in conversations. So that way I know it's probably going to be useful for you too. And let me give you a few examples of what this is before I give you the term. You'll probably, those of you who are familiar with it, will probably get it right away. I first learned about this concept when I was going through my psych classes, and I was told of this experiment where a little tiny bug, little tiny thing, was put in a jar and the lid was put on. And this was one of those bugs that could jump. And the bug would jump over and over and over again, and it would hit the jar lid every single time. Well, after a while, they decided to see what happened if they took the lid off. Hey, Casey. So the experimenter took the lid off the jar, and what do you think the bug did? You would think that the bug would jump right out and escape into bug world, right? That's not what happened. This little jumping bug continued to jump just as high as the lid and no higher, even though the lid was gone. What the heck is going on here? Why do you think that the bug didn't just jump right out when the lid was taken off? Let me give you another example. I saw a video, I think it was yesterday, on Facebook, where there was an ant crawling on a wall, and someone took a black Sharpie and drew a circle around the ant right on the wall. And the ant would get up to where the Sharpie was and stop, as though the marker was now a wall preventing it to escape. No matter where it went, it wouldn't go further than the Sharpie. So what the heck is going on? And does the behavior of these two insects have anything to do with human behavior? Yes. These two examples refer to a phenomenon called learned helplessness. Are you familiar with this term at all? Does this sound familiar to you? I see this every day of my life. I've seen it in myself over time. I've seen it in my own kids. I see it in my clients all the time. What is it? Learned helplessness is this overall sense that you are powerless in this world, that you don't have the ability to improve things. You know, every time you say, I can't, it'll never work, nothing helps, comments like that. I hear this stuff from my clients that have ADHD and Asperger's, and worst of all, I hear it from their parents. You know, when I reach out to try and help people and they say, oh, we've tried everything. We've tried all the different therapies. We've read all the books. Really? Have you gotten the result that you want yet? Well, no. Okay, you haven't tried everything. Because there's a solution out there. I know because I teach those solutions. But there are people that won't even consider it. Because sometimes they get so used to bumping up against the solution that doesn't work, instead of viewing that as a process of elimination, of getting rid of all the things that don't work until you find the thing that does, what they do is see it as reinforcement of the fact that they can't succeed. Do you see how that one conclusion can either motivate you or totally kick your ass? Because that's what's happening. They're not seeing it as, all right, there's one more down. Yeah, this is frustrating. I know we're getting impatient. I know that we really want something that works here, but that's not how we're going to interpret this. We're going to interpret this as the universe just does not want us to have this. The universe does not want us to succeed. For crying out loud. I mean, I can understand it. You know, I've been in that place before too, but I didn't like feeling helpless. I didn't like feeling paralyzed, especially when it comes to my kids. That's a feeling I will not tolerate. I will not tolerate the belief that I cannot improve things for my own children. Whenever I'm in a situation where I feel like I can't provide something or I can't solve a problem they're having, sometimes I'll get down for a while. I'll feel frustrated. I'll feel exhausted because of everything I'm putting into it. But once I've had a chance to rest and reboot a little bit, I say to myself, there's no way in hell I'm going to tolerate them suffering to this degree. There must be something that can be done. And then I go back to looking for it. There are so many parents that I meet that have given up, not so much on their kids, but have given up on the idea that the solution's out there, have given up on their ability as a parent to become who it is they need to be to help their child move forward. A disempowered parent leads to an anxious and depressed child. Now, this is not to say that if your child is anxious or depressed that it's all on you. I'm not saying that. Because there are some kids where the anxiety and depression is another layer to their underlying challenge, whether it's Asperger's or ADHD or dyslexia. But we can absolutely reinforce those things because they see us, the person that's their champion, that's there to help them navigate the world, feeling helpless. How are they going to view their own chances? Well, the tendency is they follow your lead. It's not to say that they're always going to be that way. You know, there are times where I've seen the adults in my life that I look up to throwing their hands up and saying, I give up, I quit, this is BS. And then I look and say, that's not an option I want to consider. You know, because I've been through my own stuff that has taught me to keep fighting. And there are people around me that I look up to who haven't had those experiences. So when I see them quitting at a certain point, I don't say, oh, that's our cue, folks, let's throw in the towel. No, I am and have been for the past 20 years now a relentless ass kicker, meaning that I will not stop. If there's something I want, come hell or high water, I'm going to figure out how to get it done. And maybe some of that's part of my DNA. Some of that is decisions I've made because of the experiences I've had. But when it comes to my kiddos, and some of you who know me know very well that my boys have Asperger's and ADHD. I'm not going to send them into the world believing that the world is going to render them powerless. I'm not sending them into the world to be victims. So if you have kids that believe they're victims of the world, and then their behavior can be very intense, you know this, that this is how they feel. And they often take some of it out on you, and then what happens? You often learn or decide that you are a victim of your own child. Think about that for a moment. Your child victimizes you. This is a mindset you cannot afford. Because the moment you go to war in any way with your own child, what is your child going to learn about the nature of relationships with the rest of the world? That they are competitive, that they are adversarial, that they're inherently around winning, losing, resistance. And then it's hard for your child to learn connection. Now, don't get me wrong. I've worked with some of these kids over the years, and some of them can be real tough customers because this belief of win-lose is very hardwired. It's very concrete in their thinking, but it doesn't have to be permanent. Does it take a lot of work to get on the other side of that? Hell yeah. Is it worth it? Absolutely. But so much of that also comes from learned helplessness. The belief that people are trying to take away my power. People are trying to deny me choice. So what do we do with these kids that think in a win-lose way? We send them to a school where they have to leave all of their choices at the door. Where we need to teach this child to respect authority. We need to teach this child discipline. So we're going to take away their universe-giving right to choose for themselves. That's how they'll learn. Bullshit. Plain and simple. That's not going to work. There's so many systems that work against the very things that we are trying to accomplish for our children. So I want you to chew on this for a little while, this concept of learned helplessness. And it may not be something that's an overarching concept in your life. It may just be in certain areas. I mean, think in terms of your monetary gain. Well, you know, the job that I've had for the past 20 years only pays this much, and so, well, I guess I'm just destined to have this. You can learn to be helpless in terms of your income potential. You can learn to be helpless in your relationships. Feeling like, well, a guy like me is only going to get a girl like this and blah, 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 blah. And, a guy like me can only go so far, and you learn to be helpless. There's so many areas where we're doing this and we don't even realize it. Something to think about, isn't it? Thank you for those who've tuned in. I hope this has been helpful. If there's somebody else that can benefit from this, share it. If this is something that you know is really kicking your butt and you want to talk about how to unlearn this learned helplessness, you know where to find me, and I'm happy to help you. This is Brian. We'll talk again soon.